Getting beat up by 9 guys in Syracuse, to me, there's not a whole lot of shame.
Welcome to the Heel to the Face podcast.
And this right here,
with your hosts, Jared Wicks, Brandon Icebreaker Clements, and Paul Boy Green Esden.
It doesn't matter what your name is. And that's the bottom line. Cause Stone Cold Texas. Best there is, the best there was, or the best there ever will be.
Brett screwed Brett. Because it's what's best for business.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man. The champ is here. Oh yeah. New Day Rock. And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for ya.
Tweet us using the handle @HeelToTheFace.
Woo! Let's get ready to suck it.
The bell is rung, so let's step in the ring with your hosts, Paul, Brandon, and Jared.
I might as well tag me up with my buddy from Syracuse.
WrestleMania is in the books, and myself is back from the Big Easy as the Heel to Face podcast is on the air for another week here, coming to you live from Syracuse, New York. We're back from New Orleans. WrestleMania is in the past, as we hope you follow the program on Twitter @HeelToTheFace. That's where you saw all my videos and updates all weekend long from the Hall of Fame, Ring of Honor, WrestleMania itself, and even Raw after Mania. You can follow my friend and also co-host of the show, Brandon Icebreaker Clements. You'll find him on Twitter @Icebreaker21, myself @Jared Wicks on Twitter. So without further ado, let's start the show with WrestleMania talk this past Sunday, the big event in New Orleans. I got a few takeaways outside of just WrestleMania itself. The first thing I want to mention, and I had a video a couple weeks ago that came out that said things I'd like to see changed about WrestleMania. Here's one thing I'd like to see changed about WrestleMania. Okay, so they come up with these official programs. They are $25 a piece, and they're quite heavy and they're quite big, but they include no information in them. Now, I don't mind the price, but I always put myself in the shoes of a father going to a wrestling event who knows nothing about wrestling. He's taking their kid, and they're trying to maybe get some information themselves. So you flip through. There was 8 pages of the 40-page program were dedicated to the matches. And when I say dedicated to the matches, it was a big poster picture of the match, and it had no details of the match. You know, it's like you have a player in a baseball program, and you have their statistics, where they were born, where they're from, how they were acquired by this team. I'm not asking for a page. I'm asking for a paragraph that says why this match is taking place, why this match is happening. How did Shinsuke Nakamura get to face AJ Styles? He won the Royal Rumble.
Just some background. That's all.
Just a little bit. If you flip the program over, these programs are dual programs. If you flip them over, the Hall of Fame program's on the other side. And for all the Hall of Famers, it has about, maybe 300 words written by them, about their careers, who they are, why they're getting inducted in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So in these big, huge 15-inch tall pictures that show the matches, have a little paragraph. Let's pretend I don't know why I'm at WrestleMania, who these people are. I'm trying to, get involved. I brought my kid to the show. I want to know what's going on.
Yeah, not everybody that's at WrestleMania knows what's going on.
So have like a little paragraph that says why Asuka's fighting for the belt, why Shinsuke's fighting for the belt. I had a WrestleMania program from WrestleMania 23 that actually had their win-loss record at WrestleMania in them, their height, their weight, their build,
that's cool.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
This said nothing. It just said, will John Cena face The Undertaker? Then you flip over, AJ Styles versus Shinsuke, and 2 big pictures of them. I don't even know if it said for the championship.
It's kind of lazy.
And here's the fun part. And again, this is a big, expensive program. Some of the matches were missing. The Daniel Bryan match, not in the program. The SmackDown Tag Team belt, not in the program. The Women's Battle Royal and the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, not in the program. So of this 40-page program, about 32 pages were dedicated to big pictures of old WrestleManias, because there was 33 pages, might I add, and 8 pages were dedicated to the event itself. Now, if you picked up a newspaper in New Orleans that week, they had a seating chart for the Superdome, what to bring when you get in, what's accepted in the Superdome, where the concession stands are, where the best places to park are, things that might have been good in the program itself.
Yes.
This is a collectible program. It's $25. I'm not asking for much, but, be a program, include some information. But with that being said, it was a great weekend overall, and I will say this much. The best seat in the house is not at WrestleMania. If you want to watch WrestleMania, it is not. You don't see everything. I'll admit I completely missed the United States Championship match. I was out at a concession stand. The most important thing about that, though, actually, is I missed the Triple H entrance on my way back. I was rushing to my seat.
That's not good.
I was rushing back to my seat, and I couldn't make it in time, and I actually got stopped by an usher because the Kurt Angle pyrotechnics were about to go off, and we weren't allowed to go behind the stage where our seats were. We had to go around behind the stage back to our seats. and he actually held us up. And I got to hear the pyro for Kurt Angle literally as close as you can because I was behind the stage.
Nice.
In the section behind the stage. He's like, we're about to shoot off some pyro, so I can't let you walk back here. And then all of a sudden the pyro shot off and the whole like hallway filled with smoke. And then we rushed back to the seat just in time for the Ronda Rousey entrance. So we did see the whole match, but the U.S. title match itself was lost. And that's kind of what you give up when you go to a big event. You know, you go to a baseball game, you give up a half inning, or you give up maybe a full inning, you know, to go to the bathroom to get concessions. So it's not the best seat in the house. But without a doubt, the experience of going to WrestleMania is being around all these people from all over countries, having the guy sitting next to you at the Hall of Fame or at WrestleMania speak with a British accent, or to be from Australia. You know, that's the cool stuff. To be on Bourbon Street at 11 in the morning on Sunday, and all of a sudden I start going, John Cena sucks, and 40 other people go, John Cena sucks.
You did that?
I mean, Bourbon Street was full of people dressed like Macho Man, Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Big John Studd.
Of course you would do that.
I was not dressed in wrestling.
No, I'm saying,
character.
of course you would do the John Cena sucks thing. I know.
But everybody was just, I mean, everybody was wishing everybody there is no better feeling in the world than being walking in a street and just having a stranger come up to you and say, Happy Rusev Day.
I love that. That's awesome.
And one final takeaway before we get into the matches itself, I want to say is, on Saturday night, forget WrestleMania and the 78,000 that were there. Saturday night, you had 13,000 rabid wrestling fans selling out NXT. You had 8,000 rabid wrestling fans selling out Ring of Honor down the street at the Lakefront Arena. You had probably thousands of other wrestling fans in other venues, from the Sugar Mill across from the Convention Center down to the Pontchartrain Center, which was by a casino a little out of town, also having WrestleCon and Shimmer Wrestling, and CZW, Combat Zone Wrestling, was running a show Saturday night. So with that being said, with all these fans selling out all these arenas, is wrestling not in a great place right now?
I think it's fantastic. There's so much going on. It's not just WWE. There's all these different organizations. I mean, not even just the Ring of Honors. I mean, you have these other indie programs. I mean, if you're doing, CZW, right?
Yeah, CZW.
Yeah,
out
I've
of
heard
Philly.
of them. I mean, it's good to see these other companies sell. I mean, they're not getting 30,000, but they still get a crowd.
Like the fact that Will Ospreay was wrestling in front of maybe 2,000 people. At the same time, Kenny Omega was wrestling Cody Rhodes in front of 8,000 people. At the same time, Johnny Gargano was wrestling in NXT in front of 13,000 people, all
awesome.
within like 20 miles of each other, or within 10 miles of each other. I mean, how awesome is that?
And I'll tell you right now, a lot of, like, even if you didn't go to NXT TakeOver, I mean, if you went, like you went to the Ring of Honor show, and then you went to WrestleMania. A lot of these other folks might have gone to CCW just to check it out, and then go to WrestleMania. You know, it's a wrestling fans, like, you know, weekend when you have all these different things going on.
Bumping into people at the hotel, and they're like, hey, I didn't go to the Hall of Fame. I was at Impact Wrestling. And the other guy's like, I was at the Hall of Fame, but I didn't go to Ring of Honor. I went to NXT. And the other guy's like, I went to NXT, but I didn't go to, just everybody going to so many different things. This guy telling me what's going on at this show. That guy's telling me what's going on at that show. I mean, all in the same city at the same time. That's why I'm kind of against it being in New York City next year. Not a huge fan, because in New York City, things get swallowed up. New York City is a place that can make the Super Bowl look like it's just some local thing going on.
Yeah.
It's a place where things get swallowed up, where you walk in the streets, you're not going to be bumping into people like you are in one of these smaller cities. New Orleans is a big city, but it's still, everyone was hanging out in certain areas. Bourbon Street was a single area where everybody was hanging out. Over by the stadium, everyone was hanging out. So New York City, it's just so sprawling, so you're not going to be just bumping into wrestling fans.
I got to get your take, though. Being in New Orleans, I mean, what was the how was the food? Why
is everybody asking me how the food was? So I'm not a big seafood person. I did have the jambalaya. I would say that was really good. I had some good fried chicken down there as well. That was really good on Bourbon Street. But the thing to get down there that is, without a doubt, they got a line out the door, is this place called Cafe Du Mont. It's in Jackson Square.
Yes, I've heard of that.
And it's this famous cafe, and you wait an hour in line, no matter what day or what time it is, to get these beignets. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I said bagnettes all weekend, but beignets.
Beignets.
It's like fried dough.
Yes.
That was good, and they had really good. I got like an iced coffee thing.
I believe they were featured on like Man vs. Food or something.
So they were actually filming something with an actor I recognized from movies that I didn't know who he was. But I know who he was, and I've seen him before, and I know his voice. And I tried actually asking the producer who this person was, and they had the headset on. They kind of just ignored me. But in the Cafe Du Mont, they had the whole setup, and they were filming something. And I was like, who? And it was like that frustration, that guy. He's been in a million movies.
You've seen him. You're like, what?
I've not just seen it, but
name?
I've seen him a million times. He's been in movies with every celebrity, and you're like, who is this guy? He's always like
Did you ever figure it out?
I haven't figured it out yet. But hopefully I will figure it out sooner or later. I'll keep looking up where I can find him. But how about this? Let's start WrestleMania match. This kind of surprised me. Asuka, did you see her streak coming to an end?
I didn't. To me, that was one of the big surprises of the night. I was really, I was pretty much like, all right, if I was putting money, I would put money on that match because I thought it was, I thought that was a foregone conclusion. Very surprising, that Charlotte won. I mean, it was cool. I mean, Asuka was really gracious in defeat, so I thought that was good, but it was very surprising. What was your takeaway?
That might be my favorite match from the night, to be honest with you.
Really?
I thought it was a really good match. I was very surprised by the outcome. New Orleans is a place where streaks, they love to have streaks end in New Orleans.
You know what match? Believe it or not, I enjoyed a lot. I really enjoyed Rousey, Angle, and Stephanie and Triple H. That was a great match.
That was a great match. And let me tell you, if you were to tell me which of the tag team special attractions was going to be better, I'd say the one that's 4 wrestlers versus the one that's 2 wrestlers. But it ended up being Rousey and Kurt Angle versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon as the best of those 2 tag teams. Give it up. I mean, she did it on Monday Night Raw. We'll talk about it in a little bit. But Stephanie McMahon gave it up to herself. She performed very well. I was very impressed with Stephanie McMahon.
Stephanie did a good job. And let's not discredit, Ronda did a great job. For her first in-ring match, to do it in front of almost 80,000 people. Ronda Rousey, great job. I think, she's got work to do.
I love the stuff with Ronda and Triple H in the ring at the same time.
That was good.
And I love the dual submissions. And I love that wasn't just, I figured like that was going to be the end of the match, but that wasn't even the end. And give it up for Triple H and Stephanie McMahon to really stretch it out, to not just do the thing like we saw with The Undertaker and just showcasing Ronda Rousey. Because moving on to The Undertaker, that's what I felt that was. John Cena could have been anybody. I felt that match was really just a way to get The Undertaker back out and to show off The Undertaker. You see when they debut somebody on Raw and they have them against somebody you never heard of, because the idea is to showcase the person that's debuting, to showcase Umaga, to showcase Bobby Lashley.
So Cena was like a jobber.
Cena was a jobber in this match in my eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, as big as a name as he is, that was his purpose. He was really just there to bring out The Undertaker. That's why The Undertaker just dominated the match and won the match. It was to showcase The Undertaker. Nobody was like, I hope this is a 25-minute match and John Cena wins.
Did you see this? It broke this afternoon. We're recording on Wednesday. It broke Wednesday afternoon, and The Undertaker is going to be in the Saudi Arabia. He's going to be facing Rusev
so
in a casket match.
So we thought he was retired at WrestleMania 33.
What the hell's going on
And now
here?
right after WrestleMania 34, he's not just wrestled again, but he's going to do something he hasn't done in almost 5 years, and that's wrestle outside of WrestleMania. The last time he wrestled, I think it was 2015 in the rematch he had with Brock Lesnar.
Yes.
But typically outside of SummerSlam and WrestleMania, and or mostly WrestleMania, he doesn't wrestle. So the fact he'll be in the ring again within 3 weeks' time.
Interesting.
It's very interesting.
Very interesting.
This entire greatest Royal Rumble thing is just very interesting to me.
It's a weird time. It's a weird time. Friday, they're doing the show Friday at noon, I think it was.
Yes.
It's such a weird time. I'm trying to figure out my plans to, maybe watch it live.
Is it a pay-per-view? Because, you know what I mean? Because you still see them.
It's kind of like what was it, Beast in the East in Japan? Something like
but
that.
But it's bigger than that, because this isn't just Brock Lesnar's and going to be wrestling. This is title matches. This is the WrestleMania main event this time, though, in a steel cage.
I think they're considering it a pay-per-view.
I think so. It's strange, though, because they're also still considering Backlash. Like, for example, when you watch a pay-per-view, normally the idea build up that week or that whole month is to the pay-per-view, but you see them still building up to the following pay-per-view, Backlash. They still say, like, after the greatest Royal Rumble, this is going to happen at Backlash. A lot of people are still challenging the U.S. title match. Now is going to be the U.S. title match that was made is for Backlash, not for the greatest Royal Rumble. So, it's just very strange how this is being worked. It feels like one of those UK pay-per-views they used to have, like Insurrection or Rebellion. But those were never really advertised in America. But those were like in between, like the wrestlers would wrestle in them, but they wouldn't, take away from the main pay-per-view they're trying to perform. But this is just really strange because I originally thought it was going to be like a house show, just a big show overseas. And now,
they're making it a huge deal.
They're making so many title matches that they can't ignore it on television. So staying with WrestleMania and staying with somebody who will be performing at that really rarely, and I didn't think when I heard that the Universal title would be defended at the greatest Royal Rumble, and then when I heard Dana White say last week that Brock Lesnar will be rejoining the UFC, he just doesn't have a timetable on him, thought it was a foregone conclusion that Roman Reigns was going to win this match, and most people did.
Yeah.
But the swerve, Brock Lesnar is still the Universal Champion, and despite what anybody has to say, I say this much. You got the best of that match.
It was a good match.
Whatever you were expecting. The AJ Styles Shinsuke Nakamura match, underwhelmed. was
Yes.
not up to expectations.
Yes, I agree.
But Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns,
was good.
whatever your expectations were for that match, most people expected 4 minutes. They went above that. They went like 8 minutes.
It was, and you know what I heard too? There was a few things that happened. So reportedly, Vince made a change at the last minute. I think they got the deal done to have, Brock do a little extension on his contract. So I believe, the week going in, I think Roman was going to be crowned the champion. And then when they found out that they were going to
maybe Dana White changed the main event.
Yeah, I think it's possible where he said, Vince, have him for the greatest Royal Rumble of all time thing, and then, you have him for like a 1 month and then bring him in. So I think he's going to lose the title, I think, at this Saudi Arabia.
You think he's going to lose on Saudi Arabia?
I do. I really do. Because here's the thing. I think his contract is.
And then you think it's going to be him and Samoa Joe 1-on-1 for the title?
I think it could be. I don't. Because here's the thing. The way I was reading into it, obviously, these are obviously rumors. It's a one-off. That's the contract extension.
And that's what I thought too. I thought Brock Lesnar, when he won, I was like, all right, he's going to lose it tomorrow. That's how much of a surprise it was.
Yeah, it was
he won.
It was a big surprise.
And I'd say a lot of the crowd. So if you're watching at home, you notice the crowd was acting very funky during the match because mostly during the match, I don't think it was so much that they were bored. I felt that they thought that the result was so much in hand. For example, on Bourbon Street, there was a person having a sign. It said, "If Roman wins, we riot." But they actually had the "if" crossed out and rewrote "when." Because everyone thought it was foregone when Roman wins. So everyone thought Roman was going to win. So people were chanting boring because the fact that they were like, listen, we already know what's going to happen. I was frustrated during the match because I saw there was like 4 F5s. And it was just frustrating because I'm like, I know Roman's going to win this. So the fact that they're having him kick out of 4 F5s is frustrating to me because you're making him look, you're not just going to have him win. You're going to have him look stronger than The Undertaker because The Undertaker lost on, I believe, the 3rd F5 at the Superdome against Brock Lesnar. So when he kicked out of the 3rd F5, I was like, you're going to have him not just win, but you're going to have him look like he's unstoppable, like he's the best in the company. That was frustrating. And then the fact that he didn't kick out, I was like, very surprised. Because I thought even when the finisher went down, even when Brock Lesnar put the finisher down, I was like, I was actually more mad when he put the finisher because I was like, you're going to have him kick out of this? This is so unbelievable. He's going to kick out of a 4th F5. Are you kidding me? And then when he didn't, I was like shocked. Like similar. It was like the Undertaker Brock Lesnar when people saw him put the F5 and they're sitting in the crowd and they're like, wow, Undertaker, he's going to have kicked out of 3 F5. That's pretty impressive. But he's going to kick out. But he's going to have kicked out of 3 F5s. Yep. And then when he didn't kick out, you're like, wait, what?
What the hell?
So I thought Roman Reigns, again, I'm like, oh, he's going to kick out. It's pretty impressive he's going to kick out, but he's going to kick out. And then.
What did you make of the Andre the Giant Battle Royale there? I loved it. I love that Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt are a little team now. I like this. This is good.
I thought that was very. And again, this kind of shows that the fact that the WrestleMania kickoff show is WrestleMania.
It is,
I mean, I know that they start the pomp and circumstance earlier, but, it is WrestleMania. It was frustrating this year because I made sure I was in my seat at 5 o'clock Eastern time, right on the dot, and then I believe the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal kicked off at like 5:40.
Yeah, it was like 5:40.
It was very frustrating because I ran to my seat, foregone all the concessions that made me miss the U.S. title match, So I ran to my seat, sat down, and then...
That's why they need to have a clock to tell you.
They need to tell me because then when I walked in the door at 4 o'clock Central Time, and I said, all right, I better get to my seat because the match is going to start. No, I'm not going to wait in any of these lines. Going to get right to my seat. And I got to my seat, and I waited there. And then by the time I literally was like, well, I guess I'm going to get up now, the music hits. I was like, oh.
Thanks. Yeah. Great. This is good. All right, I guess I'll stay tuned. And then you missed. I mean, I think the U.S. title match was kind of underwhelming, too.
Yeah, and I checked out to see if there was any entrances. One final take, I brought the programs up at the beginning, and this is not just WrestleMania. I've brought this up before. This is all WWE events. If it is a live WWE event, I'm not talking house show or something that's taped, like SmackDown used to be back in the day. If it's a live event, I was at, let's say, a baseball game the other day, or I was at a football game before, and when you're on the concourse, you're getting something to eat, they have televisions. I understand some of the televisions are menu boards, or some of the televisions are advertisements. They're not real televisions, but the places that have real televisions that are television served purposes, like have a cable channel on there, have Sports Center on there, whatever.
Yeah.
Play the event. I understand it's a pay-per-view event, okay? But I've gone to UFC. They had the UFC pay-per-views on the concourse, even though it was a pay-per-view event. You have the permission to play the event. When I'm at the Superdome and I'm waiting in line and you have a television and it's like on CNN, stop. have WrestleMania on the TV. Everyone's got it on their phones when they were walking around the concourse. Like, they have it on their phones.
Yeah,
to
they're
see what
watching the network.
Yeah, stop that. Like, we're at the event. Put it on.
Put it on
I've been to
TVs.
minor league baseball games where they have it on TV when you're waiting to get a hot dog.
They do it at the Dome, too, for Syracuse games.
They have it for any event. You go to an NFL football game.
Yeah, it's on.
I went to a Blue Jays game a couple weeks ago. They had the game with the commentary on the concourse while I was waiting in line for the bathroom. They had like the radio feed on.
The way it should be.
Yeah. So it's WrestleMania. And same with Raw. Raw, they didn't do it for Raw either. So all WWE events, like if it's live and on TV, play it on the TV. So when we're waiting in line.
Put on USA Network, you know?
Yeah, so we know, like, oh, crap, this guy's coming out. I want to get to my seat. Or I'm not missing any of the action. It's silly.
Yeah,
I've even seen it where they have concerts on the TVs. So just enough of that nonsense. I don't know why they don't. I get the permissions or whatever you have to do.
Before we go to a break, it's a little teaser for our little Tweet of the Week segment. So Shinsuke Nakamura technically won against AJ Styles at the WrestleMania, which we'll get to that a little bit later.
His tweet of the week I watched back today like 7 times.
I told you
it's
interesting. Well, it's a little teaser. We'll get to it a little bit later, but it was interesting take, and I'll leave it at this: Shinsuke got robbed.
So WrestleMania 34 in the books, the Raw after WrestleMania and the SmackDown after WrestleMania now. 2 must-watch programs. As we mentioned last week, it's a brand new year. So when the clock hit midnight on WrestleMania 34 and Brock Lesnar left with the belt, where did WWE go for there? We break down Raw and SmackDown this week as you're listening to the Heel to Face podcast on Sports War Radio, Rat Pack Radio, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and on YouTube.
The New York Jets are rising and are ready to compete in the AFC. Boy Green and Ty Butler will give you everything you need to know about the Jets every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. From reviewing the previous game and looking ahead to the next matchup, to all of the news and 4 downs, the Jet Zone has everything. Follow @BoyGreen25 and @TyDButler on Twitter. Proud member of Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
This program is simulcast on WRPR Rat Pack Radio. Go to ratpacksports.com for more information.
Do you want to stay up to date on the latest sports news? Come check out After the Whistle from 4 to 5 p.m. every Friday night. We talk about the NHL, we talk about the NFL, we talk about the MLB, you name it, we got it. Tune in on Sports War Radio.
Now is the time to get your voice heard. Sports War Radio is now accepting applications for driven and knowledgeable sports fans who want to start their very own podcast about their favorite team. Sports War Radio has an international audience and is growing fast. Don't miss the chance to become the go-to news source for your favorite team. Email sportswarradio@gmail.com and tell us why you would be a great addition to our team. Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
Now is the time to get your voice heard. Sports War Radio is now accepting applications for driven and knowledgeable sports fans who want to start their very own podcast about their favorite team. Sports War Radio has an international audience and is growing fast. Don't miss the chance to become the go-to news source for your favorite team. Email sportswarradio@gmail.com and tell us why you would be a great addition to our team. Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
Let's get back to the action. This is the Heel to the Face podcast on Sports War Radio.
Samoa Joe's music to bring us back to the podcast. He made his return Monday night on Raw. We saw a bunch of NXT debuts from the authors of Pain to No Way Jose.
Woo! I love that guy.
No Way Jose. And one we were talking about in the break, a real surprise to me. A guy I was literally the distance of from me, if you can't see us on YouTube, me to Brandon in the studio, Bobby Lashley at their biggest event, Impact Wrestling's Bound for Glory. I mean, I was that close to him at Bound for Glory, and now he's once again a WWE superstar, Bobby Lashley.
I just, for the record, I was a day late or a day early. I personally thought Bobby Lashley was going to be Braun's partner at. Why, to me, not to get back to WrestleMania, but why have that match on as late as they did? I was thinking, okay, they're saving it for a big name. So I thought Bobby Lashley was coming on WrestleMania. I was a day early.
He should have come at WrestleMania, and then they won the tag belts, and then they could keep the tag belts.
Yes.
Instead of kind of the stunt that they pulled. But I was on the concourse, and nobody saw. I heard Hogan, Rey Mysterio, Big Show,
Del
Rio. So in my hotel, I talked to somebody who went to an Impact show the same night as the Hall of Fame ceremony to see Del Rio, and he was actually pulled off the show, and many people in the crowd at the Impact show in downtown New Orleans were saying that he was in talks with WWE. So that made me think, okay, maybe Del Rio.
Over.
Ended up being none of those people at WrestleMania. We all saw was a kid in the 4th grade, Nicholas.
Who is John Cohen, one of the referees' kids?
Surprise, it was a plant, everybody, not a authentic kid from the crowd.
Yeah.
Surprise, Santino Marella, when they were in Italy, he was from New Jersey and training to be a wrestler and not just some guy in the crowd.
Shocker. Who was actually involved? Bobby Lashley. Yeah, he was involved in that.
So, yeah, Bobby Lashley made his return on Monday night. I was utterly shocked. And, that's the thing about WrestleMania weekend is you can keep a lot of these surprises under wraps because if you see them around town, that doesn't give off that they're in WWE. If you see Bobby Lashley in town in the Royal Rumbles that night, you're like, Bobby Lashley's going to be in the Royal Rumble. I could have saw Bobby Lashley all weekend in New Orleans, and I would have never thought that Bobby Lashley was joining WWE because every wrestler is there, regardless of what company you went to. So, I mean, people that I thought it could be, like Big Show, for example, I thought Big Show was in town. He helped induct Mark Henry.
Yeah.
Rey Mysterio was in town. That's just them being in town at WrestleMania weekend doesn't give it away because they are wrestling. The Hardy Boys were in Orlando last year wrestling at Ring of Honor the night before WrestleMania,
I think that makes
and
it
yet
better.
nobody saw them coming in WWE, even though they saw them wrestle in Orlando the night before.
That's what makes it better that way.
It does make it better because you can see them, but it doesn't give away that because there's so much.
Because
in
Royal
there.
Rumble could be it's the only wrestling show in town.
Yeah.
And
So
then you see him there.
if I saw Bobby Lashley on the streets of Bourbon Street on Sunday afternoon, I still would have been as surprised on Monday when he made his debut. Now, my question is, so Raw went off the air with a 6-man tag. Now, we saw the return of Jeff Hardy. I like Jeff Hardy now, but I felt of all the big returns, Bobby Lashley, for example, his was a little bit underwhelming. I mean, glad that Jeff Hardy's back. I knew he was going to be back eventually.
Yeah,
I wasn't really surprised. I mean, I saw him at the Hall of Fame on Friday night, and I knew it was just like a matter of time before he was back in the ring. But how about them going off the air with a 6-man tag? I mean, I thought they were going to go off the air with something a little more exciting, a big announcement. I thought that would be the main event. But then, at the end of, like we've seen in the past, they've had a main event and then Rock comes out and then Goldberg makes his debut or something like a big shocking moment.
I think it was underwhelming.
Yeah, it wasn't. It went off the air with a 6-man tag, and
was a
Jeff
good
Hardy and
match.
Seth Rollins and Finn, they won the match.
It was a decent match, but
yeah,
I was hoping something else. I mean, to be honest with you,
normally the Raw after Mania goes off the air with like somebody's music hitting, like for example, if Bobby Lashley's music hit and he slammed Elias, and then Raw went off the air like that. That would have been a little more feeling for the Raw after Mania.
I love. You know what? Poor Elias. Bobby just took care of him real quick. That was a cool moment. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with Bobby Lashley going forward. And there are some reported NXT call-ups that have not made their debut. I mean, on SmackDown we saw the iconic duo. They made their debut. I didn't see a group that I'm thinking is making their debut after the super. I think they're going to be announced at the Superstar Shakeup next week. I think you're going to see Drew McIntyre. I think he's coming. I think he's coming up. I think he'll be a part of the Superstar Shakeup. You're going to see, and I believe Sanity is up next. I really believe Sanity is coming up. Maybe, but I did see. I was thinking Roderick Strong, but now he's in the Undisputed Era, so I don't think he's coming up. So I'm thinking, Sanity, Drew McIntyre, and then maybe. Actually, you know what? You can't even use Aleister Black anymore because he's a champion. So it's.
What about the former champion? I mean, that's normally how this works.
I mean,
when you give up the belt.
I think Andrade's going. I think he, thinking about it, I think he's going to go up too. But I really, the one I really want to see is Sanity. I think Sanity's due. I think it's going to be. I think they're going to be a great group up on the main roster. They've been tearing the house down in NXT, so I'm hoping to see them on the main roster very soon. I think they'll be a part of the shakeup.
Now, on Monday Night Raw, I have to say that Elias he probably had one of the biggest pops of the night. Everyone loves Elias.
Yeah, Elias is the man. I got his
He's really
t-shirt.
over right now. Now, with that being said, they actually played a video, so kind of hyping up its own event. During the commercial break, WWE plays their own commercials, and they played a video that was the WWE 24 special Raw After Mania, where they kind of detailed, the goings-on of the Raw After Mania, and they were showing some of the highlights of past Raw After Manias, and one of them was people were chanting "We are idiots" with Chris Jericho saying, we are, and literally Elias's segment came out next, and I want to say everyone in the crowd watch that segment, and then when Elias called everyone a scumbag, they're like, well, we saw what that other past Raw After Mania crowd did. So it felt that they watched that and then upped the ante when we got back from commercial, because it was kind of not a super excited crowd. I mean, a lot of people were into it, but when they saw that highlight package of what past Raw After Mania crowds did, all of a sudden everyone's like, we got to step up our game. We got to step up to be like Dallas, to be like Orlando. So when Elias was like, you're all scumbags, that's when we're like, well, we are scumbags.
We are
scumbags.
That was, you know what, to me, Elias on Raw is what Rusev is on SmackDown.
Yeah.
That's literally what it is. They both get major pops, and WWE's not doing anything about it. Like, come on. Like, Rusev's not getting a push, and Elias isn't getting a push. They're just there. They're entertaining.
I was entertained by Elias at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I was too. But here's the thing. You got WWE. Listen, you got to push those boys. They're too good. They're too over. Listen to the fans. Let's move them. Let's promote them. Let's get a title around their belts. That's what I want.
So how do you feel about Carmella cashing in her Money in the Bank on Charlotte Flair after Charlotte ends the streak? I mean, is that so you like that?
Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
It's kind of it's like Brock Lesnar winning the match and then losing to Nicholas the next night. That's what frustrates me about this a little bit. I mean, I like the surprises and all, but like you just ended the streak. You ended a streak that's greater than Undertaker's streak.
Yeah, but that's what makes it even better.
And
because
then you have her lose to like
it wasn't expected.
The least qualified woman in the business.
It wasn't expected. It was a surprise. I liked it.
I mean, it's WrestleMania, so
yeah, but it makes it more of a surprise because then you're like, oh man, she beat Asuka. There's no way she's gonna lose to Carmella.
True.
You know what I mean?
It's not. It's definitely on the table more so than other times because WrestleMania weekend seems to bring out that Money in the Bank question all the time. Who's ever holding a briefcase? even before Seth Rollins did it at WrestleMania 31, who's ever holding a briefcase since the beginning of the briefcase? Everybody kind of has that. They're gonna get it. They're gonna hold it to Mania. Or the night after Mania when Dolph Ziggler cashed it in that one time. So it's always in the air. I guess cashing in Money in the Bank is always in the air at WrestleMania weekend.
I think Charlotte winning was a good smokescreen, though.
I think it'd be very strange to see a WrestleMania that somebody isn't holding on to the Money in the Bank briefcase. So maybe this July when somebody wins it, they don't actually still have it until the following year.
I liked it. It was a good. To me, it was a smokescreen. Charlotte beating Asuka, that was a great smokescreen. I thought that caught a lot of fans off guard because they're like, no way. Because to me, I was thinking, okay.
It caught me off guard because of the way that they did it. Now, if you saw when she came out, the referee was hesitating.
What the hell was Kyoto doing?
Yeah.
I
thought he was doing that in order, like, that it was going to end a Baron Corbin situation, and she was then going to lose to Charlotte.
I was waiting for her to stumble and then set up Carmella and kick her in the head or something.
Yeah.
It's funny. My wife and I are watching it, and she's like, What is the referee doing? I'm like, I don't know what Kyoto's doing. He's been doing this a long time. I'm like, is this a work? I mean, what's the deal here? And then
I thought he was stalling so that Charlotte would then end up winning.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And then the fact that she ended up, it's like, then he should have just cashed it in. What was the stall about?
Yeah, what's the delay? And then, she won. I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. The other name I forgot to mention that I'm expecting in the superstar shakeup is Big Cass. I mean, he's got to be coming back pretty quick here. So, I mean, we got a lot to go. Lots going on. I can't wait for next week's stuff too. I mean, the shows this week were good. I loved Paige is now, she retires on Raw. A night later, she's on SmackDown taking over for Daniel Bryan, who's now, he resigned as general manager, and now he's back to full-time wrestling. And then the first act, Paige says, we're going to have AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan as the main event. That was freaking awesome. That was a good match.
Yeah, no, definitely. So the night before at Raw, they actually advertised for SmackDown, and obviously it's all subject to change, but still, why advertise this? And to be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised I wasn't at SmackDown, so this might have happened off the air, because a lot of times they advertise matches for TV shows that actually ends up happening like after the show's over. Like John Cena defends in a steel cage against Braun Strowman, and you're like, that's not even in the storyline.
Right.
And then if you went to the Raw after Raw went off the air, John Cena did defend his title in a steel cage against Braun Strowman. Like, so because they want to give like the fans an advertised match. Because again, going back to the whole, sometimes parents take their kids to wrestling and they don't know the whole storyline and they don't know what's going on. So they kind of they want to have a match that they can kind of bank on. So one of the matches was Carmella versus Charlotte, which essentially did end up happening. But they advertised it as a match that was going to happen, and they advertised Shinsuke versus AJ. On television, it ended up being AJ versus Daniel Bryan. It might have been Shinsuke after it went off the air, and that would have probably been a good way to do it. After it went off the air, Shinsuke then and AJ had a quick little match for the title where AJ escaped with the belt. Or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
I saw Jinder Mahal defend his championship against Randy Orton after SmackDown went off the air, and Jinder Mahal, who was champion, then retained his belt, escaped with a win. That kind of thing, obviously, because it was off the air.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I tell you what, I love Daniel Bryan. I love seeing him in the ring, but it loses that special factor now that he's in there full time. It's strange.
I love
strange seeing him as a wrestler.
I'm bad. I'm out. Man,
I like seeing him in the Shane McMahon role, where I like Shane McMahon wrestling once a year at WrestleMania, or Triple H wrestling once a year at WrestleMania. Seeing him now every day, he's going to have to build his reputation back up for me to.
Oh, he's
get
going
excited.
to. He's going to. I'm not worried about that. Daniel Bryan, to me, he's one of my all-time favorites. I'm so glad he's back. I'm so glad WWE has cleared him. The medical team has finally said, you know what, you're good, man. And then he's back being full time. You're going to get great matches out of Daniel Bryan. I mean, he looked like he hasn't missed a step. He was out of the ring for don't forget, he's been out of the ring for 3 years. Ring rust. Where was it? It's like he picked up where he left off. I mean, his matches look, he's so far the 2 matches, he looked like he hasn't missed a beat. And I'm very happy. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with him going forward. He's got to get a title, I think, in the next, I think he's going to get a title within the next 6 months.
Now, with Paige as general manager, could they do something? Now, this would be interesting. We were just talking a minute ago with Alberto Del Rio and talks to WWE. What if Alberto Del Rio came over to SmackDown as Paige as general manager? That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I think she would. I think he would be going to Raw if he's back. I don't think WWE would put them together, considering everything that went down.
But it would be interesting.
I mean, it'd be intriguing.
It'd be interesting if he came back to the company. Period. But it's not out of the question. Like I said, a lot of people.
Hulk Hogan's almost about to be back, so anybody can come back, right?
Yeah, I thought we'd see maybe Hulk Hogan this past weekend at something WrestleMania.
I think he'll be. You can hold me to it. I think he'll be back by SummerSlam. That's what I'm thinking.
So any other takeaways from Raw or SmackDown? I'll say after Raw went off the air, I thought a lot of times, as I just mentioned, you get a match. What we got after Raw went off the air, and this is kind of funny. So it's at WrestleMania itself. For some reason, I don't know why, but beach balls are very frowned upon. Anytime a beach ball was grabbed by security and they tried to grab it, they deflated them immediately. During Raw, the same thing. Beach balls were around. People grabbed them, deflated them. Even some fans. The fans that aren't into beach balls, I don't know what your problem is. It's just fun. Knock it off.
Yeah. Let's play along.
I saw some fans who were like frustrated that they were trying to watch, enjoy the integrity of a wrestling show, and you're throwing a beach ball around, and they would grab it themselves and deflate it. But during the show, they were deflating beach balls, security guards mostly. And at WrestleMania, during the Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns match, if you heard weird reactions from crowds, mostly the cheering was for a beach ball. The booing was for a security guard taking the beach ball.
Yes, I caught that.
You're like, why are they booing? Why are they? It was beach ball related.
Twitter was good for that, by the way.
But after Raw went off the air, Seth Rollins grabbed the mic and all of a sudden said, "No, this is your show. This is your party. So I got one question for you. Where are the beach balls?" And all of a sudden, and I don't know how many beach balls these people bring. And
they were stocked up.
After deflating like 11 beach balls during Raw, like another 10 beach balls came out after, which is weird because of the fact that, like, wait, did you know he was going to say that? Because if he didn't, you were planning to bring the beach ball and then bring it home, like never deflate, like inflate it.
Yeah, right.
So they waited till then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, I got a beach ball. I was going to just hold it, I guess. But now that it's 11:30 and you called me out, and Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, and Jeff Hardy were seen running around the ring playing with beach balls. And anyone that made their way to security then all of a sudden were like, oh, he said it's okay. So they gave him back to Seth Rollins. They gave him back to the crowd. And it's like, see, why can't you do that during the show? Now all of a sudden the security got their hand on a beach ball and gave it back to the customer in the crowd, if you will, and saying it's okay because Seth Rollins said bring out the beach balls.
The WWE talent said it was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how Raw went off the air. Well, Raw went off the air with the match, but that's how Raw happened after the show. beach balls around the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans. Raw, SmackDown this week, a lot of debuts. The matches themselves were okay, but more importantly, we have some number one contenders for tag team belts on the road to having new number one contenders for Raw tag team belts. Randy Orton is once again number one contender for the U.S. belt for the second year in a row at the pay-per-view following WrestleMania Backlash. I think it might have been Payback last year. I'm not sure. But either way, the pay-per-view following WrestleMania will see Randy Orton versus Jinder Mahal. This time it's for the U.S. belt, which is a little more easier to swallow than last year when it was for the world belt. But either way, Raw, SmackDown, very interesting this week. The Superstar Shakeup happening next week. So that's your WrestleMania recap. That's your Raw and SmackDown recap from this week. A very busy weekend from Thursday all the way to Tuesday in New Orleans. Next week, though, from Hartford, Connecticut, WWE gets a little more back to normal. But I hope, and I say this to the fans, why can't every Raw be the Raw after Mania? I understand there's a lot more kids at the other Raws, but everybody get up and make it that atmosphere. Yeah, let's be exciting. Yeah. Start chants. I understand it's mostly adults and a lot of people from all over the world, but whether it's people from all over the world or people from just the town itself, get on your feet, scream and yell, and make every Raw crowd the Raw after Mania. Yeah. That's my challenge in 2018. Make every Monday Night Raw the Raw after Mania for the crowd.
And SmackDown, too.
Make every crowd. Let's just do it. Every crowd as good as those crowds, because you can do it.
You can do it.
So when we return, we got our tweets of the week, as you're listening to the Heel the Face podcast on Sports War Radio, Rat Pack Radio, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and you're watching us on YouTube.
The New York Jets are rising and are ready to compete in the AFC. Boyd Green and Ty Butler will give you everything you need to know about the Jets every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. From reviewing the previous game and looking ahead to the next matchup, to all of the news and 4 downs, the Jet Zone has everything. Follow at BoyGreen25 and at Ty D. Butler on Twitter. Proud member of Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
This program is simulcast on WRPR Rat Pack Radio. Go to ratpacksports.com for more information.
Do you want to stay up to date on the latest sports news? Come check out After the Whistle from 4 to 5 p.m. every Friday night. We talk about the NHL, we talk about the NFL, we talk about the MLB, you name it, we got it. Tune in on Sports War Radio.
Now is the time to get your voice heard. Sports War Radio is now accepting applications for driven and knowledgeable sports fans who want to start their very own podcast about their favorite team. Sports War Radio has an international audience and is growing fast. Don't miss the chance to become the go-to news source for your favorite team. Email sportswarradio@gmail.com and tell us why you would be a great addition to our team. Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
Now is the time to get your voice heard. Sports War Radio is now accepting applications for driven and knowledgeable sports fans who want to start their very own podcast about their favorite team. Sports War Radio has an international audience and is growing fast. Don't miss the chance to become the go-to news source for your favorite team. Email sportswarradio@gmail.com and tell us why you would be a great addition to our team. Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.
Let's get back to the action. This is the Heel to the Face podcast on Sports War Radio.
You suck. You suck. You suck. Heel to the Face podcast is back on the air. Our final segment for the post-WrestleMania show. And just a reminder, follow the program on Twitter at Heel to the Face. And when we talk about Twitter, that means we got to talk about our tweets of the week.
There it is.
There it is. So time for our tweet of the week. I'll start with my tweet of the week. I actually had, let's say I have two. I had one, and then another guy directed me to another while I was looking at his tweet. So Roman Reigns sent out the tweet, any show, any city, any country, any opponent, I'll fight. And he got a response, and this is a response that when you see it, you're like, again, he likes to do this. At Kenny Omega responded, really, ? In response to Roman Reigns. So, he did take on Chris Jericho.
Hey, Kenny Omega, come to WWE. How about that? Thank you.
Yeah,
if you're following WWE, wrestlers Twitter, then you're putting this stuff out there. Then put your money where your mouth is and come to the big game, the big boys.
But my second, I'll put out my second tweet. The first one I had, might as well say it. Why not? It's out there. At Ryan Satan. He's at Ryan Satan on Twitter. He's verified.
I used him last week.
Well, there you go. That's probably why we're following him on the show and he's following us. It's funny that John Cena has to beg for weeks to get a match against The Undertaker while Rusev literally had to do nothing. The power of Rusev Day is real. He's referring to the fact that Undertaker will take on Rusev in a casket match at the greatest Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia. And like I said, John Cena had to beg for weeks to get The Undertaker to come out. Rusev, he probably just got told he was facing The Undertaker, didn't have to do nothing about it.
Yeah, that's why he's that over right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay, so what's next? So is Elias going to get a big match? I mean, what's going on here? I mean, if we're going to give Rusev big matches and he's so over, Elias is well over himself, let's get him a match, damn it.
All right, so Brandon, you have a very interesting tweet of the week.
Yes.
I might even watch it again. It's a video. It will have the link for it at least on Heel to the Face.
Yes, yeah. Go make sure you check it out. It is on. I put it up on the Twitter account this afternoon around lunchtime. It goes out. I got to give a shout out, and I think he's now following the program. His Twitter handle is at Rockamaniac00. Steven Wilson. Thank you, man. Thank you for bringing this up. I was just looking around. I heard some chatter about it, so I went and looked around on the Twitter universe, and I watched this video. It's a quick video. It's Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles. I mean, AJ Styles ended up winning the match, but if you go back and watch the video, Shinsuke gets a 1-2-3, and then as the referee is going to 4, then AJ kicks out. So and we didn't hear. I mean, I know before Lana, a while back, Lana had like the shoulder wasn't down thing, and then she got another match. So WWE, what the hell are you doing? I mean, this is out there.
Yeah.
It's a 1-2-3, and then the ref goes for 4, and then AJ kicks out. So Shinsuke actually, maybe they could have used this for him to be a heel.
Yeah.
You could have pushed this a different way. So to me, props to Steven Wilson. I got to tell you, that was a good catch. I did get I got a heads up from a few of my friends on Facebook and other social media platforms. But I will tell you this right now, I saw that and I'm like, WWE, why aren't you using this?
I've seen it in a way where, let's say somebody is supposed to get the 3 count, but the referee only counts 2. Thinking he's supposed to kick out, so he doesn't count the 3, and then it ends up working out normally in the favor. For example, if this happened with AJ and then AJ won the match, it might be a little different. And more importantly, if it happened not at WrestleMania, this would be much different. But the fact that this happened at WrestleMania and was for the guy who ended up losing the match is a very big oops. As big as an oops as you can get.
And WWE's trying. I think WWE, they probably noticed it because I'm sure someone tweeted at them about it.
They probably want to ignore it.
They're trying to put it under the rug.
Yeah, but that's a tough one. I mean,
that was bad.
That's the biggest show, the championship match. Again, this isn't just a match where somebody wins.
It was one of the main events.
This is for the title. The winner is the champion.
This would be considered the co-main event, right?
Yeah.
So he dropped the ball, man.
And they dropped the ball.
That should be an ESPN not top 10.
Yeah,
that's how bad. That was a big oops.
I mean, I watched it over and over again. Somebody under the responding of Twitter put something about, well, he was checking the shoulder. I mean, I watched it. It looks legit.
It's a legit 1-2-3.
Yeah, there's no he's moving the guy around. Like it would have been. I've seen it before. I remember No Way Out. I want to say 2001. The Rock bottomed Kurt Angle and went for the 3 count, got a 2 count, and then the referee, it was supposed to be a 3 count, but The Rock looked at him like, what was that? And he gave him a 2 count, and so The Rock just picked him up, Rock bottomed him again, and it was like, it's supposed to be a 3 count, 1, 2, 3. So that's okay, you know what I mean, if the referee makes a mistake, because the winner still won. The person who's still going to win wins.
Yeah, that's,
and you're just like, okay, I did my finisher, and you said there was like a problem, like he put his shoulder up, and you sold, because you can sell that.
Yeah.
I think he's put his shoulder up, sorry, do it again. You know what I mean? But you can't sell the reverse.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
That was tough. I mean, that was. I'll be honest with you. I watched it. I watched it back, and a couple times when I was on lunch today at work, and I'm like, man, they really screwed this up. And you know what? They're going to sweep it under the rug like nothing happened.
Yeah, it'd be cool. It'd be cool if they used it. The problem is, though,
they can't now. It's too late.
It's hard to use because of the fact that they love to have everything planned. And if Michael Cole would have maybe said something on air,
then it's like, oops.
Yeah, then they might be able to use it better because then they'd have some fuel.
I didn't see it live.
Because now they pretty much, if they acknowledge it, they pretty much have to acknowledge it to the masses. And a lot of people who didn't see it would then see it. And they would rather maybe them than not.
Yes. Yeah.
So they would have to bring it up, and they bring it into the light themselves. So that's the problem. And Michael Cole, good for him. One time during a battle royal, it wasn't a Royal Rumble, it was a battle royal. Khali was facing somebody, and Khali, as silly as Khali can be, and maybe as absent-minded as he can be, he climbed over the top rope and out to attack his opponent. And Michael Cole even mentioned on Raw, he's like, did you not just see that? Isn't that how the rules of a battle? And they're like, no, he went between the ropes. And they're like, no, Khali doesn't go between the ropes. And then it was like Corey Graves. It was like, it might not have been Corey Graves. It might have been Byron Saxton or it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And somebody's trying to save him. Well, it doesn't count if you do it yourself, and all of a sudden Michael Cole was like,
you still get
okay. I think it was JBL actually, and he said that. Well, he walked out himself. That's different. And Michael Cole's like, okay, sure, and he just couldn't stop laughing. He's like, whatever you say,
whatever. Yeah,
if that, yeah. But I'll give Michael Cole credit. He acknowledged it. He was like, wait, what was that?
You know what?
Yeah.
Though I didn't see it live with this 1, 2, 3, and then the 4. When he was going for 4, there was the kick out.
So maybe we got to go to the network, and maybe this was spliced together. Because remember, it's two different. You see the one hand. Then a different camera angle, then 2, 3.
Yeah, I'll have to look at it.
So
I guess we'll under further review we'll let you know.
Yeah,
next
but
week.
if it is what it is, it doesn't look good. So that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Heel to the Face podcast. WrestleMania week is in the past, but we are not done. Just like WWE, we keep on rolling. So next week, the Superstar Shakeup on the road to not just Payback, or Backlash. Sorry, I keep saying Payback, Backlash. The same idea. They're the same name. So on the road to Backlash and on the road to the greatest Royal Rumble. Didn't think we'd have to do this, but I guess we're going to have to treat it like a pay-per-view. And we're going to be getting you ready for the greatest Royal Rumble in 2 weeks, as well as the Superstar Shakeup and everything else that's going on in the world of sports entertainment, WWE and non. So for Brandon, the Icebreaker Clements on Twitter at Icebreaker21, for myself, Jared Wicks, you've been listening to the Heel to the Face podcast on Sports War Radio, Rat Pack Radio, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and you've been watching us. And if you haven't already, subscribe to us on YouTube.